Hi! So, spices, okay, there's a whole world of spices out there and Indian food just wouldn't be the same without them. And one of the questions I get asked a lot is about what spices do I need to cook Indian food? And the answer really is there's so many. However, throughout the years, while I've been creating lots of different dishes myself, I've found 10 spices that I find I use on a regular basis. So I put them together in a really lovely gift set. So you can purchase these online. But what I wanted to do is talk through all the different spices with you today, so you can get a little bit of an understanding of what the spices are and how to use them. Okay, so are you ready? Let's go, let's open this up. Right, so the first thing is you've got this clear lid, which I'm just going to open up there. And then you've got a selection of spices, and these have been specially put together. Now, what I'm going to do is talk you through all the different spices. I'm going to put them out here. You can have a look and we'll start. Okay, so while I do it, I'll open them up. So start off with the Garam Masala. Okay, now this spice is really quite unusual because there's no two recipes of Garam Masala that are going to be exactly the same. They vary so much, but essentially they are a selection of whole spices which have been ground together. Now, a lot of times my students, when I open the lid of spices, they say, oh wow, it smells like Christmas. And in fact, there are a lot of spices that you would be using over Christmas, like cinnamon. Here we go, got a little bit of cinnamon here. Cardamom and bay leaves as well. But in addition to that, there could be other spices in there like fenugreek, cumin, peppercorns. So really, it's one of those spices that, depending on which brand you buy, you'll get a completely different flavour. And some parts of India, they will have more cinnamon in, or more cardamom, or more pepper, or more cumin, and that will affect all the flavour. So do experiment a little bit, try out a few different brands. I know the brands that I like and I tend to stick with them because then the flavour will be all the same. Okay, so that's the one in the middle. I usually put that in the middle because with my cooking I don't use an awful lot of Garam Masala. I use it very sparingly because it's quite a strong spice. The word Garam Masala actually means hot spice. So Garam means hot and the masala is spice. Okay, now this one here you will definitely have seen, you'll be familiar with. That beautiful colour is turmeric, okay, and it comes from a root, okay, and the root is similar to ginger but obviously very different in nature and colour, and it gives your cooking a wonderful sort of floral tone. It's not overly spicy, so you don't get a very strong flavour with it, but it's very delicate. But as you can see, the colour itself is just going to liven up any curry that you cook with. Just do be careful with your fingers though, because you will get yellow fingers. And if you have white kitchen table surfaces, be careful with that as well. It will come out, but with a little bit of bleach and scrubbing. Right, now I'll leave that in there. So after the cumin, I'm going to talk about paprika. Okay, paprika is wonderful for adding colour, adding vibrancy and a lovely flavour, but you're not going to get heat with paprika. And that's okay, because sometimes you just want to liven up your dish, and some recipes like Rogan Josh, you want that lovely red colour but without any artificial colours in there. So paprika is definitely one of my favourites, and when the kids were younger I would substitute the chilli for paprika because it gave lovely flavour but without the heat. And I think you can see that there, beautiful gorgeous red colour. Right, and the next one here I'm going to pick is the ground coriander. Okay, now coriander is wonderful. It's one of the most amazing herbs that you can use in cooking. Other than for the flavour, it has so many nutrients, so it's basically like a whole food. So it has vitamins, minerals, carbohydrates, fats, oil, water, all of those things put together. So that's in the fresh form, but actually with the root form as well. So with the seed, you get all of that concentrated goodness in there. And then the ground coriander is simply the ground seed. So I'm going to open this, and I wish you could smell it because it's absolutely amazing. It's so like warm, nutty, citrusy. It's got lovely overtones to it, and it's quite a talked about spice really, but in cooking, in Indian cooking, and especially Southern Indian cooking, which is more my style, I love it because it adds a lovely depth of flavour. It gives that natural sort of warmth and nuttiness to it, but it also helps to thicken up your sauce. So wonderful spice to have. Right, so now I'm going to go for the whole spice, and this is one of my favourite whole spices, cumin seeds. Right, now cumin is used in so many different cuisines, and it has so many different ways of using it as well. I love the fact that you can use it for something as simple as roast potatoes. Just crush a little bit of cumin in there, and then you've got this wonderful aroma and smell and zestiness to it. And I love cumin worked together, used with my mustard seeds. Now for vegetarian cooking, you'll find cumin and mustard seeds complement each other really, really well. And it's important to know which spices you can use together. So definitely you're going to need that in your list. And here we go, these are the black mustard seeds to go next to the cumin. And I always sit them together because they're basically like best friends, they're best buddies. They like to be together all the time, and they work well together. And you can use them whole, you can crush them, you can dry roast them, so on pan, on a low heat, just gently roast it to sort of let the oils come out. And then you can crush it in a pestle and mortar as well. And every time you do something different with the spice, it will affect the flavour. So you will get either a more intense flavour or more of a subtle flavour. And that's the wonderful thing about spice. You know, there's so many different ways of using the same spices, and you'll get a completely different result. Right, okay, so what curry is complete without chili powder, honestly? Chili is probably one of the most talked about spices when you talk about Indian food, because people always think Indian food is hot, and very often it is, but not always. So chili adds colour as well as flavour, and it has a special component to it which releases the endorphins in our brain, which makes us happy. So it's also known as the happy spice, and it also can be a bit addictive. So you'll find if you start using a lot of chili in your cooking, you'll start adding a little bit more and a little bit more. All those chili addicts out there, that's the reason. Okay, and again, beautiful colouring in there. I'm not going to snitch that because I don't want to be sneezing everywhere. Right, okay, now I've got the last three spices. I'm going to pop in the little trays. So these are my aromatic spices. Starting off with some cinnamon bark, sometimes known as cassia bark or Chinese cinnamon. It's very different to the sort of cinnamon you get at Christmas, which is in a jar, cinnamon scroll. It's more intense, and I think the flavours are a lot more sweeter and more cinnamony. But honestly, it is so lovely to cook with. You can keep it whole, and I'm going to snip. Oh, beautiful. You can keep it just like this and cook it in whole, but then remove it before you serve up. Or you can grind it in a really good quality spice grinder and get freshly ground cinnamon to add to give that sweetness, that aroma, that real luxury, especially at Christmas time. Cinnamon goes so well with so many different things. And with similar to cinnamon, I've got cardamom here, green cardamom pods, which is another beautiful aromatic spice. Can be used in different ways, like the cumin and mustard seeds. You can use it whole, you can crush it, you can grind it, you can just take the seeds out and use the seeds, depending on what sort of intensity you're after. But honestly, the smell the flavour that you get from that is just going to be incredible. And you can use both of these spices with sweet as well as savoury. And one of my favourite ways of using these spices is to make chai. And okay, final one, spice number 10, cloves. Okay, you probably love or hate these. They probably have memories of, I don't know, Christmas with the little oranges with the cloves in there, or perhaps having them and biting into them and finding it quite a strong flavour. Cloves are really lovely to use, but they are very pungent, very strong. So you've got to be careful that you don't overuse them. I very rarely add more than a couple, 2 or 3 at a time, because what I like is the gentle flavour that comes from the oils as you're cooking with it. But I also tell my guests that they are whole spices in the food, so that they're aware that they might suddenly bite into one. But used properly, they do completely transform your cooking and add all that amazing flavour to them. So here we go. So you've got 7 spices in here, and then you've got an additional 3 spices, which give you my top 7 spices for Indian cooking. I hope that was helpful. I hope you've learned a little bit, but also do go online, do get yourself one of these spices for yourself. You will love using them, and more than anything, you're going to make some great food, so you've got all that to look forward to. Thanks for watching.